Hi, I'm John Hales. I'm chair of Amanda Silva's committee, and I'm happy to introduce her. One of the first of Amanda's essays I remember reading, and we go way back. This is sort of the wandering path to the MFA. One of the first of the essays pulled me in immediately with its roller derby setting. The speed, the sharp elbows, the thinly veiled violence, and the complex social hierarchy that has long awaited a writer of Amanda's gifts to bring to life on the page. And also a vivid image, Amanda being carried off the field of battle with a compound fracture. Her description of her injury, her sharp skin bursting bones offered in sacrifice to the great cause of roller derby victory, had me turning our medicine cabinet inside out in search of prescription painkillers that might ease me through the essay's remaining pages. But Amanda's writing shows us that other seemingly less dramatic aspects of human experience, growing up, for example, make the semi-regulated mayhem of roller derby look safer by comparison. If less physically pained, I'm more deeply haunted by a scene in another essay, a setting quieter and less obviously threatening than the oval rink in which one derbies. That derby is a verb I learned from to derby. Anyway, that describes an hour she spent as a teenager in her bedroom listening carefully to what was unfolding on the other side of her bedroom door, interpreting muffled voices and jangled keys as intently as a CIA codebreaker, listening for clues that might help her negotiate later the inevitable conversations and confrontations with her parents, considering strategies that might minimize other varieties of injuries unseen, but unlike her leg bones, never quite to heal. The sounds and thoughts that filled the room that evening years ago, and the way all this will echo throughout the years to come. The clarity of Amanda's prose, the attention to detail, the accuracy of her dialogue, and the specifics of the setting place us alongside her at this difficult moment. And this is accomplishment enough. But Amanda's prose does something only the best writing can manage. It gives the reader an intimate sense of what this kind of apprehension and wariness feels like. And then, in the essay, and throughout her writing, something even more important, what this experience means for Amanda and then for her reader, who is led inevitably into considering questions that are at once universal and personal. First, perhaps how do any of us survive our childhoods? And from there, following Amanda's nuanced but ambitious lead, how do we become the people we are? How is an identity constructed, wrestled with, negotiated, and possibly reconstructed from experiences like these, from the stories Amanda tells us, and from our own stories? One of the many gifts my students have given me over the years is a peek behind the curtain of artistic creation. And Amanda's writing has taught me so much that's important about how writing can accomplish the impossible. It begins with description, of course, and with her vivid storytelling. We hear what she heard that evening long ago, the ambiguous but still meaningful snippets of conversation, the sounds of movements and silences that might feel ominous or might be reassuring. And we also hear the beating of her heart. No writer I know writes more powerfully about the way emotional responses are experienced in the body, the way a workplace slight or a parent's impossible command, or the way an unwelcome memory not only echoes through our minds, but vibrates from our hearts to our fingertips, making its power felt as deeply in our nerve endings as in the film clips our brains project inside our skulls. And then reflection, which in Amanda's writing is often a confrontation between what she calls her logical mind and the daunting anything but reasonable obstacle of habit and experience. A struggle William Faulkner called, quote, the only thing worth writing about, the human heart in conflict with itself. Exploring this conflict by means of reflection violates, to some degree, the show don't tell rule. And we can be thankful that Amanda often elbows that directive out of its lane, across the track, over the barricade, and into the laps of its chanting fans. The result is an articulate, probing on the page of what experience means, sometimes analytical, often visceral, and also curious, as caught up in the mystery of human experience as her readers become. And always intelligent, genuine smartness under the occasional layer of smartass. The best kind of bad attitude, critical but somehow never cynical. Sharp elbows, to be sure, a voice that's roller derby tough and profane, but also ironic and often laugh out loud funny, brutally honest and just as powerfully generous. Always recognizing the truth that there's more to every story than anger or mistreatment, or even moments of joy and community. That healing is a process, and that the human heart will always remain a mystery. I'm very happy to introduce Amanda Silva.
Good evening. So just a quick couple of thank yous because it has been quite the journey. Um, so as long as the last 3 years have lasted, at least in the MFA program, I know that in reality, it's the best part of my day. So I look forward to class. I look forward to especially workshop to go in and come out a different frame of mind. Between the most intriguing discussions and the hardest questions, and often the hardest I've laughed probably since the last class. It's been a wonderful experience with classmates that I have the utmost respect for and professors that put their heart in sharing what they've learned through their own writing process. I have personally never learned so much in my life. And specifically, I want to thank John. Thank you for that wonderful introduction and for your patience with my run-on sentences that I will always attempt to justify. But even better, piquing my interest in sharing my voice in undergrad so many years ago and getting me here to this MFA program because it was the only choice. I'm eternally grateful for your guidance throughout. Thanks to Stephen. First of all, for making class a sanctuary. I can honestly say that workshop is one of my favorite places to be in this hectic life, and I always leave with an inspiration to tackle something I've never tried before. And to my husband, Joey, who has been there with patience and more support than I could ask for. And we've been through a lot together. We've grown up together, and I'm excited about the ventures we still have together to look forward to. Love you and happy anniversary. Okay. Alcohol, carrots, and a rabbit hole. Cherry, get your ass up here, Coach yells, hands violently gesturing toward my jammer. Catching a glimpse of his pissed off face, red cheeks, mouth agape as his directive slaps into my ears. I do as I'm told. I skate to the blocker that's holding up my jammer. I simple hit to get her out of bounds, allowing my drained jammer to pass. The jam is called dead. A few jams, and coach calls for a water break. I sit on the bench, finishing up my second liter of water, engrossed in my own thoughts. What is wrong with me tonight? My skating is off. My brain is lagging. I can't do anything right. Coach's words are stuck in my brain, sending a chill through. The girls finish up and head back on the rink. I follow, but unable to keep disappointment of myself out of my own head. I struggle staying present. Coach walks out to us. All right, let's finish the night with some laps, waiting for us to head out. He then goes back to collect his stuff and leave for the night. We all notice. Skating towards the door, I watch almost every girl's head turn to watch him leave. Then up to the clock. It's only 9:35. The comprehension of his actions hits us all. Then we are looking at each other for support. This wasn't just laps. This was 20 minutes of suck. as it had previously been deemed, skating laps nonstop for 20 minutes as fast as you can. For me, this means 20 minutes of dying under my spotlight, as each part of my body begins to cramp one section at a time. What the hell is my problem? I'm not doing anything right. After being left to question my entire existence while participating in what I can only describe as Chinese torture exercise, the whistle blows and the ladies gather in the center of the rink for final stretches. I fold. I need to get out of here. I get my skates off and throw them in my sweat-soaked pads into my gear bag. I'll walk to my car. I crank the system up, hoping I feel the music's therapeutic effect and help relax, but it doesn't work. My mind won't shut up, and my performance at tonight's practice. When I try to fall asleep, it's the same ruminations of self-doubts and embarrassing attempts that refuse to subside. I fall asleep sometime after midnight, only to be awoken at 3:12 a.m. One of the dogs wants to get under the covers, but wakes me to comfort her up so she can. Her flat face keeps her from doing so herself. A routine I know I do, sometimes while still sleeping. Drifting back to sleep, more of what is wrong with me thoughts infiltrate my sleepiness. Coach's words play back at the same decibel he yelled them, startling me completely awake. I'm out of breath. My heart is beating harder and faster. I take my small fleece blanket and wrap it around my eyes and ears, placing my arms on each side of my head. I squeeze my ears with my biceps as if they will muffle the sound of exasperation in his voice, while trying to figure out why this is upsetting to me. Coach yells at everybody. It's not the first time and it won't be the last time. That's his job. I messed up. I need to be more decisive. I just chose the wrong plan of action. Roller derby is so hard to learn, let alone making my feet take me where I want to be or make hits be effective as they should be. I turn to the fetal position, arms still wrapped around my head. I needed to be yelled at. I chose the wrong action. He didn't say anything mean or unjust, but it's about this. It's about his word. But it's not just about his words, is it? It's his yelling, the anger that scrunched up his face. I think about that and the body feels his disappointment. For the next 40 minutes, my logical brain attempts to make sense out of my reaction. I put my earbuds in and turn on a playlist, hoping to distract myself. My heart slows, the sweat in my hairline dries, and my dog moves under the blanket to lie against my back. She's like a keypad and a white noise machine all in one. I appreciate her rhythmic snores. I hear it over the music. I may be able to pass out again for only a few hours before up for work. I notice things like this happening more and more. In my daily life, I recognize that it's less about what's currently happening and more about my reaction that dredges up feelings long buried. It doesn't matter if it's getting yelled at Derby or being undermined at work or overwhelmed at home. These are all triggers, actions, emotions, subtleties, tone of voice, disappointment, all tied up by strings of my past trauma that play me like a puppet. On occasion, when joy wakes me with unexpected, where did you put this or that? Or upset that I didn't do something, all it takes is his voice to be louder than usual or have a tinge of disappointment, and I'm jolted. Not jolted awake, just jolted. My ears ache with my own disappointment, and my chest squeezes at the thought of his. My body balances on razor blades for an unknown amount of time. It could last the morning, it could last until the next day. All of my actions are corrupted by unease. All my thoughts are tainted by a lack of confidence. Is it really him randomly yelling at me for something stupid? Well, if it's not stupid to him, technically anything that interrupts my sleep is stupid. Or is it my body automatically relinquishing into fight or flight mode? Well, sometimes fight, but usually flight. There's a chance I'll yell right back, rip into him for thinking it's okay to wake me like that. But most times it's the latter. Most times I'll pull the blanket over my head and shake it until I can logically convince my body that just because he's yelling at me doesn't mean I'm dying. How much of that is really actually joy? How much of it is because I grew up in an unstable home where I was awakened by yelling all the time? By my father, who was so thoroughly upset at me for sleeping in on any given Saturday that his voice shook with disgust, or him throwing a cup of cold water in my face for not listening to his direction, or my mother drunk off her ass attempting to physically remove me from bed. There's nothing like being sound asleep and pulled from your bed to the floor by your ankle. The more I realize how much of my happiness is being held hostage by things that I have tried to forget or move on from, the more I am pushed toward understanding why my mind and body feel so broken. Why does my brain sift through my day for all the things I do wrong? There's a lot of them, so it does take some time. It finds the top three for sure. The most embarrassing, the most hurtful, the things that jump up and down on the most tender, vulnerable spot I have and rips me apart. With a slight promotion at work, the amount of responsibility the job title includes is only a third of how much I actually piled onto me. With this heaviness, my derby life wanes. I'm not getting enough sleep to be effective at practice, and I'm barely making rosters. What was the most fun I ever had in my life is being slowly taken away from me by work's demands until I give up. As much as I love it, it's not more important than my job. I think that with the additional 3 hours of sleep on nights I would normally be at practice and lessened attention between Joey and I due to his occasional aversion to derby, life might start to balance out, but I am wrong. My reaction to pressure from work is me shrinking back into myself. Even though churning inward brings me a recognizable comfort, it's not enough. When feelings of disappointing anyone rise into my chest, it causes dizziness, shortness of breath, heart palpitations. After convincing myself that I'm dying from some unknown ailment that has crept into my organs, I make an appointment with my doctor. So tell me about your symptoms you're experiencing. The doctor questions as he sits on his rolling stool. Can't breathe, I get dizzy, I start to see spots. If I'm unable to control, to gain control, I have heart palpitations. I'll start to sweat, sometimes I'll start to shake. How long does this last? Like a few minutes, maybe 10. But it feels like forever until I can slow down my breathing. What are you doing when these symptoms begin? Well, they seem random, but usually I'm trying to catch up on work or obsessively thinking about something I did or said. Do you have anxiety? Like social anxiety, yeah, sure. Like general anxiety? I'm not sure about that one. Do you worry ahead of time about situations you'll be in? Or do you have trouble focusing because of your worry? Or feeling like something bad is going to happen frequently? Or does it cause stomach issues? Or does it interfere with your sleep? Yes. Okay, which one? Yes to all of that. He places his pen down on his clipboard and looks at me. Are you depressed? I cock my head. My expression changes as I truly think about this for the first time in my life. You know what depression is, he smirks. Uh-huh. I just never have seen myself as depressed. It's just the way life is. He bats my knee. Amanda, listen to me now. I raise my head to make uncomfortable eye contact. You listening? Yes. That's the depression talking. My expression goes right back to the what the hell expression. Hold on, just hear me out. That's not the way life should be. That's a very concerning response. It sounds to me like your definite anxiety, possible depression, are causing panic attacks. That's the difficulty breathing, which leads to hyperventilation. Then tiredness sets in. It's a continuous cycle. Wow, when you say it like that, it sounds really messed up. It allows a slight chuckle to leave it. Well, the symptoms are horrible when you're having a panic attack, but knowing it's anxiety lets us know that there's something not right. Like what? It could be many different things. You could be triggered by something. It could be that you're overwhelmed and overstressed from work. It could be lack of taking care of your health, like both physically and mentally. It could be that your serotonin levels aren't high enough. It could be due to your past trauma. Hell, it could be your genetics. Does any of that sound familiar? Yes. Yes, to all that, he laughs. I nod. Well then, I got the perfect thing for you. He prescribes a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, which works by increasing levels of serotonin. He reassures me that it's so gentle. It's what the troops in Afghanistan sprinkle on their cornflakes. Never on medication for such things, I don't know what to think. I naively comfort myself with the thought that if I don't like the way it makes me feel, I don't have to take it. Regardless, I struggle with the diagnosis. Absolutely hating the idea of being labeled in this fashion, since it goes against what I think I know about such things. Being labeled to have anxiety doesn't fix things. Being given a prescription for meds is not a quick fix. But being exposed to such fixes adds to my list of the type of person I don't want to be. It's true, I don't want to be the person prescribed happy pills, but even more vital, I don't want to be the person controlled by fear. Relinquishing to the fact that I have to start somewhere, I give in. For the first week, other than episodes of obsessive yawning, my demeanor improves. After the second week, I'm officially the blob on the Zoloft commercial, where all the clouds just magically disappear. The sun is shining, birds are singing. Whatever feeling this drug gives me, I've never felt before. It is able to get me out of my head, which gives me moments of relief from anxiety. I have more focus when I need it and less occasions to sleep interrupted by my intrusive thoughts. As good as it feels, I will not let this be the answer, but I will let it be the beginning of the answer. I use this as motivation to read as much as I can about the insights my doctor gave me. Most importantly, learn about myself, how panic attacks, anxiety, depression, trauma, and genetics fit together for me. Before my doctor's visit, I had never thought about what afflictions my parents or even further back in my genetic heritage and exactly what was passed on to me. Besides my mom's hair color, knobby knees, and thighs that have never known a gap, even during my malnourished teenage years, I have never thought about what other genetic dispositions I could possibly inherit from. So I do my research, and what I find is, although at times enlightening, is also quite disturbing. To the end, this may be a shock to all the people that have seen me sit back perfectly content, not talking in just about any social situation. But yes, I am an introvert. It's not a big deal. There's plenty of introverts out there avoiding eye contact, canceling plans at the last minute to stay home, to bask in comfy clothes, dog and laugh and tune to favorite music, movies, or books. Recognize each other and easily feel kinship. From afar, the slight knowing smirk, head nod, or the rare secret handshake. To amplify my preference for solitude, I am also a thing called a highly sensitive person. Yes, another label I already regret. I find this to be imperative to the conversation because of how I'm performing extroverted things like teaching, like interacting in general, like really just doing what is expected of me, flat wears me out. I get overstimulated and eventually fail to function after a certain point. On a different level of genetics, being a redhead also affects my responses in many ways, but especially when it comes to pain. It has taken me a lifetime to attain the feistiness that resides within my walls, but even more compelling includes a tweaked pain tolerance. I accepted a long time ago that having a broken thermometer falls into the category of annoying. But where it starts to get interesting is the comfort I can obviously find in that I have a greater pain tolerance when it comes to electrical shock types of pain. Until reading this research, I didn't know electrical shock is its own category of pain. As cool as that is, my mind goes directly to if I have the same tolerance for the pain that isn't encompassed in the physical realm. Do I have the same high tolerance for the pain that comes with emotions? I'm also prone to high adrenaline production and a more efficient fight or flight response. So does that mean I feel pain less? Or does it mean I manage my response to it better? I have a feeling it's both. And that's why I've been able to go through some really traumatic experiences, avoid the backlash, fight or flight my way out of it, then wake up the next morning like it didn't happen. And that is my level of functioning. The equilibrium of where my mind and body goes when stress happens, because that is the path they know. To dive into my genetics even deeper, there's genes I can only speculate I have that were passed down to me. But there's something about my reactions to struggles that show me they exist. Thanks to heredity, the abuse my parents endured, the mental illnesses they cultivated, the self-destructive coping mechanisms that formulated, have all taken residence in my body. After taking all of this into consideration, I understand that there's numerous wrong way signs, both paths and dead ends that plague my path to making better decisions about my well-being. It's no wonder I feel like I've been chasing my tail by following the whittled paths of my body's previous choices. As I retreat into getting my work completed, less and less spring time, basically not being able to find joy in anything I'm doing, I return to my norm. My norm is by definition a learned depressive state where my mind finds stasis. Duty to my job keeps all my energy on doing as well as I can. Other than that, my brick and mortar, impenetrable walls go up as I watch life go by from behind their safety. Each time dealing with questionable circumstances, the ability to find a custom fit, I refuse to be hurt again, brick, to fill all the paths I've learned from is the reality I discern. Between the survival strategy and putting my head down, I continue, focus on my work, school, and get my shit done, which is extremely reminiscent of my childhood. With freedom guiding my motivation, I would go to work, which got me out of the house, and attend school enough to graduate and move on. The whole time holding on to the idea, I just need to get through this and everything will be so much better when I'm done. This is what I know and actually do well with. I'm used to a certain level of hurt surrounding me. I hide behind it, sink into it, and ultimately can still be quite effective. This is astounding because the research also shows that I'm inclined to be twice as likely to become an alcoholic, 10 times more likely due to my adverse childhood experiences, or so my genetics possibly might dictate. The definite days when this demon rears his whole forward head, such as on an overwhelming day full of triggers, that sends my body into numbing tornadoes of what ifs. When I get home, the first thing I do, even before setting my things down, is reach into the fridge for an ice cold beer, say a bitter IPA on the worst of days, hoppy and high in alcohol content. When the words fall out of my mouth in praise, "Oh, comfort me, sweet nectar of the gods." And unfortunately it does. Another way it creeps in is when I'm expected to converse with others. I depend on alcohol as a social lubricant. Believe me, my appreciation for alcohol was added to my list of anxieties before the list existed. I have to actively decide to not have an alcohol carrot being my motivation. So I dangle my happiness carrot far out in front of me, hoping in the end it will all be worth it. The same one I would daydream about as a teenager. Just a little more work, just a few more years, and soon I'll have the happiness I've always deserved. I'm not sure what I was thinking. I was probably just telling myself whatever I needed to hear to keep the depths and darkness shallow enough to trudge through. I have adjusted to this line of thinking as well. Being able to look at my functioning state of mind objectively has opened my eyes to this forever waiting for happiness cycle. I keep reverting back to it. It has also turned me toward healing from my past rather than ignoring it, turning my back on the broken, rarely able to be herself. Sarcasm is the only language she speaks. Smartass girl is no longer my answer. It's time to move on from the charade that the stupid carrot is made of happiness. It's not. There's no such thing. It's when I know that I just need to eat the damn carrot, appreciate it for what it is, sustenance, and have gratitude. It's helping me get through today.